Welcome to the Dogs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
What's up, Browns fans? Welcome to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. Just Josh, Justin, and myself today. Some show updates. John Nye, we kicked him off the show. I'm just joking. John has stepped aside from being a full-time member of the show. He's just got a lot of things with he lives a little further away. He's about to be looking for a house. It was just becoming a lot with his schedule. He's still going to jump on, be an alternate whenever we need somebody. I'm sure he'll still host a league for us next year in fantasy football. He's still in the Discord and all that good stuff. He just won't be on the episodes every single week now. So we want to give you guys that update. We got the new intro, so I didn't want you guys to think like John just disappeared, because he does do that. But at this point, we do know where John is, and he is safe. So it's just going to be us going forward, just the three of us and all of you guys. So we'll see how long this lineup lasts. We're like, we're like Panic at the Disco or something. Like the only guy left is the main guy. Yeah. But they still call themselves the same name. So that's us. We're Panic at the Dogs Podcast. So today we're going to get into some of the coaching moves the Browns have made. We're going to talk about obviously the big ones, the offensive coordinator position. Is Kevin going to be willing to give up play calling? We're going to play Joe Flacco's clip talking about the culture in Cleveland, and then very exciting, we have the Mad Dawg nominees ready for you guys in all the categories. So we're going to be telling you guys that and where you guys can go vote, so we can do the Mad Dawg Awards in a couple weeks. This is going to be the 4th annual Mad Dawg Awards, I believe.
That is correct.
Yep. And these are always a lot of fun. So and every year we've got more and more people to vote. And it's been more and more fun every single year. So we're excited to get into that. And then depending on how it's going, how much time we got left, maybe we'll jump into some updates about the Ohio State Buckeyes, because I know a lot of you guys are fans and they've just been killing it in the transfer portal. On my way to the studio today, we landed Julian Sayin. So it's been a good offseason so far for the Buckeyes. So if we have time, we're going to get into some of that if you guys are interested. Before we do, though, remember, if you want to leave your intros or voicemails on the show, head to thedogspodcast.com, tap Leave Voicemail in the drop-down menu. You can also find the merch store in that drop-down menu. We got some of our cool T-shirt designs in there. You can check them out. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. For X, formerly known as Twitter. I don't know so what do you call it now if you post on Twitter? It's not a tweet. What did you X'd it?
I don't know.
Put an X out there.
You exited it? I don't. So I just still call it tweet. I guess
still twitter.com.
Yeah, which is weird.
It is weird.
So I mean, I like Elon, but I feel like he didn't think that one through. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Make sure you tap the notification bell so you never miss a new episode. We're going to be putting out content all off season, through these playoffs, into the Super Bowl, into the off season. We'll be talking about everything. I'm going to finally start watching the Cavs soon, so we can talk about some Cavaliers basketball. So it's going to be a good off season. So make sure you have that notification bell tapped so you don't miss any of the new content we're putting out. And lastly, if you're looking for more Dogs content, head to jointhedogs.com, become an official Dog Pack member on the Patreon page. The off season is actually a great time to join the Dog Pack, because the after hours episode it's less just game reviewing now and more of just whatever you guys want to talk about. We put a post out, hey, what do you guys want to talk about today? And we get into pretty much everything: comics, movies, music, life. It's a pretty good time in there. So the after
never
hours,
know where it's going to go.
Yep. We actually have Dog Pack members come on to the after hours shows sometime. So you get access to the private Discord. You get access to the extra episodes. You get to play fantasy football with us once football season rolls around again next year. It's just a fun time for everybody involved. Everybody's real close, tight-knit. From all over the world, from Scotland to San Diego, California, all the way up to Ottawa, Canada. So, and all the way out to Honolulu, literally global.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in that, you want more Dogs content, you want to maybe try to talk to John sometimes when he's not here, he's still in there, head to thedogspodcast.com, become an official Dog Pack member on our Patreon page. So before we start the episode, jump into football. We talk all the time about the Dog Pack and how it's more than just like a paid subscribership. Like everybody jumps in there and everybody's super close. Justin has met Andrew Andrew Jackson.
I've not met Andrew Jackson, but I would love to.
I thought you did in Indy. That was Kenny.
Kenny and Andrew met up together in Indy.
With Peter.
Yeah.
I've met Katie from San Diego. Me and John went to a game with her. Obviously, Kenny Mack has literally been in this studio. We're all really good friends with Kenny now. It's a really tight-knit group, and it's probably one of the coolest things we've done with this podcast is like build that online community. And sadly, we got news yesterday that one of our members' daughter was bullied, and sadly she took her own life. And I just wanted to take a minute to talk about that. And I'm sorry because it's hard for me. I have my own daughter. But her name was Sadie Jackson, 13 years old. And I think it's a good time to just think about for a minute, like, we kind of give each other the business online. I know I do it to people do it to us. But I feel like we keep it football for the most part. And I think there's a huge difference between adults online, giving each other the business about their football teams. But at the end of the day, I mean, our most hated rival of this show is Aaron Butler. And I still feel like even he would admit there's a healthy bit of like human respect towards each other. We just give each other crap about each other's football teams. So be nice to people. I mean, this girl she should still be here. Now a dad doesn't have a daughter, a mom doesn't have a daughter. It's just not really fair. So as the dog pack, we're going to do something. He asked me to share this GoFundMe. The link is in the description of this video. I can't say it because GoFundMe links are crazy long.
There's a QR code on the screen right now. If you're watching the podcast, you can scan that, or like Blake said in the description, the link's down there.
So if you're interested and you want to help out in any way, I know the family could use all the help they can get right now. There's a ton of unplanned expenses coming their way. So I just wanted to take a minute, be nice to people. There's perfectly fine to give people the business online about football, and we're all adults, but be nice. And if you are somebody who's had issues with that stuff, like just seek help. Look, there's resources out there, because it's just a sad thing, man. It's really actually kind of like ate at me since I found out yesterday. So again, if you're interested in helping, head to the GoFundMe. I know the family would appreciate it. And
Yep. I don't know what else to say. I mean, we'll throw up, we got a picture here. We'll kind of do, a few seconds of silence here, and we'll roll a quick ad for BetterHelp, which, that's one of the sponsors of this show. And the reason we partnered with BetterHelp is because talk therapy can be so helpful for so many people. I mean, we all deal with stuff. We all struggle with things. And, it doesn't matter if somebody else might think your problem's little or big. It's a problem. So if you need somebody to talk to, that's why there's great resources out there. So thoughts and prayers to the family. And like Blake said, just be nice to people. You never know what somebody else is going through. I do agree there's a huge difference between razzing other adults and bantering online like we do all the time. I mean, there's yahoos all the time on our Twitter page just trying to say whatever they can to get us riled up. And at the end of the day, it's all in good fun.
yes,
At least it should be. So it's always something to be aware of. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Browns fans, we've had some time now to come down off of that playoff loss. It's still super disappointing, but it was still an incredible season. And now we're heading into 2024, into the offseason, ready to refocus our sights on the ultimate goal. And as 2024 continues to unfold for you, now is the perfect time to refocus on yourself, and that includes your mental health. Yes, I know there is still some stigma in society around mental health, but that is all nonsense. Your health, whether it's mind, body, or spiritual, is the most important thing. And that's where today's sponsor, BetterHelp, the most convenient talk therapy service, can benefit you. It's 100% online and 100% on your time. Schedule whatever kind of session you're comfortable with. Face chat, voice call, or even text messaging. You can do any of those with your therapist whenever it fits your schedule. And you don't have to worry about not getting paired with the best therapist for you. You can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. There is no reason not to at least give BetterHelp a try today. And to help get you started, you can save 10% off your first month at BetterHelp, HELP.com/dogs, DAWGS. Consider this a trial period to see if talk therapy is even right for you. If it's not, just cancel. But if it is, guys, it could change your life. What do you have to lose? Your mental health is critical. And if you've been considering talking to someone about anything in your life, no matter how big or how small it may seem, now is the time to take that first step. Head to betterhelp.com/dogs to get 10% off your first month.
All right, so we're back. Thank you guys for bearing with me through that. I do want to get into some Browns football stuff now. Kind of a big week for the Browns, considering they're not playing football anymore.
Yeah.
To me, it came out of nowhere. Was the firing of three coaches, three coordinators. Unfortunately, Coach Stump Mitchell was let go, which hit this show a little hard because, as we had a chance to meet him and interview him last year. So we're sad to see Stump go. Alex Van Pelt was let go, which I heard from. I saw something from Jake Trotter that might have been mutual. I don't know.
So what I was reading was that they were actually trying to work out with Alex Van Pelt, the Browns, to keep him on in a different role. So they wanted to keep him with the organization. They just didn't want him in the OC role anymore. And he said, no thanks. I'd like to pursue, other options in this role. No one wants to take a demotion at work. So totally understand. So yeah, the parting was somewhat mutual.
Yep. And then the tight ends coach,
TC McCartney.
Yes. Texas Christian McCartney. So to me, I know a lot of people, Browns fans, we kind of like to overreact to everything. So I saw people couldn't, the sky was falling because we were firing coordinators on the offensive side of the ball. People were talking about how Stefanski's scapegoating everybody, but I'm like, only in Cleveland would we complain about an offense all year, and then when they go to make changes on the offensive side of the ball, it's the sky is falling. Yep. There's conspiracy theories.
I had this conversation at lunch. Somebody looked at me and said, "Can you tell me why the Browns are firing all these offensive people? This is so stupid." And I was like,
Browns.
How many games did you watch this year? The offense was the problem.
It's only, this is coming straight from Haslam. He bypassed everybody. Deep Podesta is pulling the strings, and I'm like, you guys didn't like any of these people except for maybe Stump, 2 weeks ago. So it's one of those things where we got to relax, guys. To me, it's exciting. I don't like when people lose their job, but to me, this signals a change in philosophy on the offensive side of the ball. They're looking for something newer, more innovative, probably more wide open, something that fits Deshaun's skill set more.
Yes.
Because turns out everything about the next couple of years is the level of play we get out of Deshaun. And I know some people will jump online and say it's the worst trade of all time, and he's just been absolutely atrocious since he's been here. He hasn't been as good as he needs to be since he's been here, but he hasn't been absolutely atrocious. And there's been, he was turning the corner before the injury, and there's been signs of him trending upward, and then unfortunately he was hurt. Now it's all about getting a full season out of him at elite level high play. I said it on the show, there can be no more excuses. Snap one, week one next year. He needs to be Deshaun Watson of old. There's no more time to wait. So I think that starts with bringing in a guy who can give Kevin a fresh perspective on the offense. I'm not saying they're going to completely abandon all of Kevin's offensive philosophies. He's still going to have his fingerprints in the offense, but I think you can blend things. I think you can bring a new perspective. They're going to be way more pre-snap motion. We're one of the bottom of the league. We need to be more towards the top of the league. So I just think it's a good thing.
I was going to just real quick shout out Quincy Carrier on Twitter, and I forget exactly how he worded his tweet, but as soon as I read it, I said, that's exactly right. I can't think of a better way to describe it. And he said, Browns fans need to calm down. Good teams have this luxury of doing this, of making improvements in the offseason. He said Jim Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin have been doing it for years. I mean, just last year, they got rid of their OC, Greg Roman, and brought in Todd Monken. And look at what their offense has done this year. Right. It was a little slow out the gate to really get acclimated to the new system. But once it did, they're unstoppable, it looks like. So these kinds of moves are very, very good, especially when it's a team like the Browns where we're good. We're a good football team. We're a good football organization. We have good football players. But we just need to get to that next level, like Blake was saying. And I think that all comes with getting a new offensive perspective, philosophy, scheme, we talked with Jake Burns about that this year, Blake, me and you, about, Kevin runs a more antiquated offense, and it's time, not necessarily to just scrap it, but let's get updated. Let's modernize it. Let's start doing things defenses aren't prepped and ready to stop.
You see what a good offensive coordinator can do for your team. I mean, the Colts with Gardner Minshew almost made the playoffs, tore our defense up.
Yep.
And look how bad the Eagles' offense was this year. The only difference was Shane Steichen. The Eagles still had Jalen Hurts, Jason Kelce, the rest of the great offensive line, Devontae Smith, AJ Brown. They still had all these people. Dallas Goedert.
Yeah.
And the offense was putrid.
Yep.
And Jalen Hurts does not look like a guy you should have given all that money to. And they go out. Shane Steichen leaves and goes to the Colts. Their offense is innovative. It gets easy throws. It gets guys in space. It puts pressure on the defense. So I think it's a good thing. There's some names out there. I know we interviewed Ken Dorsey today. I want I feel like this is just one of those things where you're just leaving no stone unturned, because there's no way he's a viable candidate. There's no way I believe it.
You wouldn't think so. But then again, I mean, Andy Dickerson, the offensive line coach from Seattle, I didn't think was a very viable candidate either. But the more I've read about that and some speculation from like Terry Pluto and Mary Kay and stuff, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm starting to see maybe a little different picture about him. But we can get into that in a second if you want to keep going about Dorsey.
It's Ken Dorsey will always be the guy that C. Grant humiliated to win a national championship. And back in 2002. That's who Ken Dorsey's going to be forever. And I have completely blocked out the fact that he also played for the Browns.
Yeah, for like 2 seasons.
Yes. And I don't think you can't look away from the fact that the Bills season this year, I mean,
180.
It looked like they were about to be like on the outs, like holy crap, these guys might not crack 500.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking there too.
Like these guys, their window's done.
Yep.
And then they fire this guy, and it's been a complete 180. They got a running game now.
Yep.
They got all the Josh Allen is still playing at a high level, leads the league in touchdowns, I'm pretty sure. Why would you bring that guy in? He was handed an offense that was performing well under Dayball, and he crashed it. And then as soon as he leaves, it's better.
Yeah.
And I don't want a guy who, I mean, the Bills could not run the ball at all. And then he leaves, and now they're running the ball well. Well, hey, what do you think in Cleveland if we're not running the ball well, and like with Nick Chubb or whatever? It's going to be awful. Yeah. So I want no part of Ken Dorsey. There's no way he's a real life candidate.
What's up, Browns fans in Ohio? If you haven't signed up for Caesars Sportsbook yet, now is the perfect time to do so with the NFL playoffs underway. New customers will get their first bet on Caesars up to $1,000 when signing up with our promo code DAWGS1000. That means if your first bet loses, you will get your full wager returned as a bonus bet up to $1,000. Caesars offers daily profit boosts as well as Caesars rewards credits on every wager, which can be redeemed for bonuses, sports tickets, and other VIP experiences. If you're ready to join Caesars Sportsbook, go download the app and register with our promo code DAWGS1000 to make sure your first bet is covered. Offer is only available for new customers who are 21 and older and physically present in Ohio. Please gamble responsibly. If you or a loved one has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Check the episode description for the full terms of the offer to see if you can qualify.
I mean, I agree with what you guys are saying. We've for a long time, at least this season, we've said, man, we'd really like Coach to kind of upgrade the offense so that it was more beneficial towards Deshaun Watson, right? So I'm very okay with all the moves. We talked about this on the other shows. I don't want to beat a dead horse or anything. Andrew Jackson said, "What about Bieniemy?" I saw he interviewed for head coach for Washington today, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's not available. But no, I think that this is a good move. I was never really sold on AVP anyway. I've always said for a long time, I didn't know what the hell he did.
He did the same thing Bieniemy did in Kansas City.
Yeah.
He helped construct the offense, but it was, it's Andy Reid's offense.
We were saying,
right.
Like Van Pelt would be more of your day-to-day OC, like during the week, handling stuff when Kevin's trying to,
be a head coach.
Yeah, be a head coach, put his attention toward the rest of the team. But Another name that I saw that was interesting was, Tim Kelly?
The OC from the Texans when
Deshaun was there. So he was the OC in Houston in 19 and 20 when Deshaun had like his best seasons. And most recently, well, I guess currently he's still the OC for the Tennessee Titans. Not exactly explosive offense whenever you think of one, but then again, really no offensive weapons. Derrick Henry's really the only thing there. Quarterback situation's murky. So I don't know. I don't know a whole lot about Tim Kelly, but I do know that Deshaun Watson was a 3-time Pro Bowler in Houston. And 2 of those years were with him.
Yep. That's a name. The guy, first of all, I want to address Nicole. We got your super chat. I made a note. We're going to get to it. So don't you think we just ignored it.
Yeah. If you guys post super chats, we see them and we'll get to them at some point. Yeah.
Sure. Another name I saw was the quarterbacks coach and passing game coordinator out of
for the Rams.
LA for the Rams.
I did see that.
Is it like Zach something Robinson?
Yeah.
Or
I think so.
That's an interesting name. So here's the thing. I haven't done a deep dive into like all these guys' careers and their past, but you can't hate an offensive mind coming from somebody who's worked with Sean McVay. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at like McDaniel in Miami.
Yep.
And it just, that's the kind of philosophy we need to be bringing to Cleveland.
Now, that kind of takes me back to Dickerson, because I do believe before he was hired to be the O-line coach for Seattle, he was in LA with he was on Sean McVay's staff. I forget the role. I forget exactly. Maybe he was the O-line coach there too. I don't know. But there's also speculation with Dickerson that they brought him in for the OC interview job, but more of an eye toward what if Bill Callahan leaves if his son gets the head coaching job in Tennessee?
So, first of all, how worried are you guys about that?
I'm worried.
Yeah.
And that's, for me, whenever I started reading about that possibility, I was like, oh, now Dickerson makes more sense because they've already got him in for an interview for something.
Yeah.
For something. They don't have an open O-line coach position right now, but that could very well change. And they need to be able to fill it with a guy they want.
So what are the roles in terms of, like, if he's not going to leave to go be an offensive line coach for wherever his kid coaches, right? Because I thought in order to leave a team, maybe it's just on a team-per-team basis based on the permission they gave you, but like you can't take lateral moves. If you're going to leave this team, it's got to be for a promotion.
I don't think that's true because that's what Bieniemy did last year. He went from OC to OCs. You know,
Did they give him like an associate head coach title?
There might have to be some
maybe
sort
the team,
of,
or maybe like in the team let him go. That's what I'm saying. Is it based? So could the Browns basically tell him unless you're going to be offensive coordinator, you can't go be there and be an offensive line coach. We're not going to let you leave. We're only going to let you take a promotion, and then I guess they could probably work around that in terms of logistics. Or do you not want to be the franchise who didn't let the dad go coach with his kid?
That's a good question. Chat, if you guys know the answer to this, just drop it in there so we know for sure, because Blake, I think you're right. I think there is something about the like straight up lateral move that you have to have permission from your team to be able to go interview.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
So I don't know that. Like, would the Browns give him permission to do that?
But like you said, if they say, okay, his son in Tennessee gets the head coaching job, says, I want you to be the O-line coach and assistant head coach.
Yeah, then that would be a promotion. But I think we still have to give him permission to interview because he's under contract.
Right.
I can't see the Browns like.
You know what I mean? Do you want to play hardball?
Yeah, I can't see them block for
because I feel like we're trying to build a culture of like this is a good place to work.
I guess
come and excel, and then we'll move on to brighter futures down the road.
I feel like the beat writers though for the Browns that are in the building would not be writing about that possibility if it wasn't a possibility. You know what I mean? Like there's got to be something to it. So yeah, it does concern me a little bit because man, what Bill Callahan has done with this offensive line. I mean, I know we dog on Jed Wills a lot. Like, I can't believe Bill Callahan didn't get more out of him. What if he did? What if Bill Callahan got everything he could out of Jed Wills and he would have been complete garbage somewhere else? Who knows? We don't know that. So it's hard to say, but man, is Callahan ever a hell of a coach? Andrew Jackson says you can do a lateral move, but they have to have some sort of a promotion like Bubba. Okay. Because he was special teams coordinator for the Colts, and then we hired him here.
And he's isn't he like assistant head coach or something?
I think so, something like that.
So a lot of people were questioning the Stump firing and then the tight ends coach firing TC because they're like, Njoku just has his best season, you fire the tight ends coach. And, Nick Chubb's great. Look at what he's done with Nick Chubb. My throwbacks, and obviously I love Stump, but how much coaching does Nick Chubb need?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's the guys behind him didn't really, like Jerome Ford didn't get developed really that much. John Kelly just keeps making practice squads. He hasn't like ever taken a step under Stump. These are just outside views of like trying to justify why they would make the move.
And my other point the other day we talked about real quick, just to add on to that, see if you agree. If they bring in a new OC, there's going to be position coaches that guy's going to want.
Correct.
Okay.
Which is one of the bigger things I think also. Same with the tight end. Njoku's needed some coaching for sure. But Njoku's like a freak athlete, was a first round pick. What is any other tight end? I mean, Harrison Bryant was supposed to be kind of like a steal of the draft, and he's
such a disappointment.
You know what I mean? So you can kind of poke holes in these arguments. Like it's easy to develop your first round draft pick.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we'll see. We'll see what happens here. Also, I heard something about Stump being a media leak. I've seen this all over the place. And anytime I ask, okay, I've heard that, what did he ever leak?
It was because of Ultimate Cleveland Show had something on there.
I was going to say, was it when I texted him?
No. I hope not. I don't want to be held responsible for anything like that.
He didn't say anything.
I saw something on Reddit. Obviously, I'm saying this. It's Reddit. I don't know what you can even take away like that's truthful about that. But somebody had put a post on there saying that there was a potential that there was a media link leakage. And they tagged that video and they said also there's 4 overage guys just sitting around bullshitting that don't know what the hell they're talking about either. So that's pretty much, I think it's probably a reach. I mean, the thing that's nice about this is you don't know why. We're all looking for a reason why. The fact that you're not knowing why is a good statement of the team. Like it's just not out there. Oh, well, we fired him because he was talking to, Mary Kay Cabot or Ultimate Cleveland Show or something like that.
Well, and like we said earlier, just go look at the other teams that have already made coaching, changes on their staff that are not in the playoffs right now. It happens every year. It's just nature of the business. It's the NFL. There's a revolving door on a lot of positions. So I think we're going to be okay.
No, I agree. I'm excited to see what we do. I guess then that kind of leads us to the next topic. The big position everybody's going to be interested in filling is the offensive coordinator position. And does this mean that Kevin is going to be willing to give up play calling? He said in the past, he hasn't been willing to give it up, but whenever asked, I think he's always been like open to the idea of it's whatever's best for the team. I think it's kind of been like his answer, and it's just he's always decided that him calling it is what's been best for the team. I think it will be tough to really go out and get like a young up-and-comer star and say, oh, I want you to come be an up-and-comer here and transform, but you're not going to call plays. Then that guy's going to go, well, that's going to severely limit my ability to, move up in the future. I'm going to have to leave and do it again somewhere else. It's going to, set my career back a year, 2-3 years. So I 100% think that whoever we hire as OC I don't think Kevin's going to call plays next year.
I think it depends on the guy. And this is where I'm at with it. Let's say you go and get, what was the guy's name from LA? The quarterback coach that they're interviewing.
Robinson?
Robinson. So he would have been third in line on basically if there was a play calling duty, because you have McVay, you have an offensive coordinator, and then you have this guy. If he comes in and he's, reinventing the offense and he's bringing it up to date, and I think coach feels comfortable with him calling plays, I honestly think he would do it. My thing is, I just don't know if he'll do it right away. Like, I would be very surprised if Stefanski's just like, I guess it just depends. Like, if he calls plays and it's still just the same, just kind of boring and vanilla, and it's not incorporating what this guy's bringing to the table, then I could see a potential to eventually do it. I'd be surprised. I'd be very surprised. But I get your point. I think he should eventually.
I mean, you've made the point on Twitter to a bunch of people all season. Like, Kevin Stefanski's offense, when it's executed properly, is awesome. Yes. It really is. But I think that goes back to the Jake Burns things. It goes back to the antiquated offense. Like, if it's not executed almost perfectly, it's very easy to stop.
We have $240 million wrapped up into a quarterback who, regardless of what we think, game to game, it doesn't always work with him. You know what I mean? I know we've seen pieces and it looks like he's progressing back to the original guy, but it's not always great. He doesn't always look comfortable in that system.
We were
You know what
talking
I mean?
about that last week about maybe this whole like timing, precision, focus that is what Stefanski's offense is built on. That's not how Deshaun Watson plays football. And maybe that's why we see some of those times in games where he looks lost. We've said that. Or he's throwing a ball into the dirt because it's like, well, what I was supposed to see, I didn't see, so I didn't know what to. There could very well be some of that going on.
I just want him to meet in the middle.
Yeah.
Like if Stefanski's going to continue to be the, play caller, do some things to help out our quarterback, because game to game, it isn't always working.
So
you know
that's the thing about Zach Robinson from LA. I just pulled him up. So he's been there for 5 years with Sean McVay. That's cool. He's been the quarterback's coach for 2 years and the passing game coordinator. So I feel like those are good roles, and this would be a promotion for him if he was the offensive coordinator.
Well, and I think he's that's where people are very like down on Stefanski in his offense, is the passing game. That it doesn't highlight any of your athletes on the outside. Like Stephon Diggs had a great year with Stefanski, but it was nothing compared to like what he's been in Buffalo. Amari Cooper just had a lot of yards, but there's just not a lot of down the field explosive plays. Now, when Joe Flacco came in, we started chucking the ball down the field all the time.
That might have had something to do with Joe Flacco too, though.
Yeah, but I think if you can get a good marriage between, this motion and this downfield passing game and this creative passing game, and you mix that with what Kevin can scheme up in the run game, that could be a very good offense.
I agree.
But I think if you're going to hire somebody to be an offensive coordinator, you got to let him call plays right away. You can't just because then if you wait, if the team's struggling, and then it looks like you're in disarray.
Well, we saw that with
mid-season changes.
Remember Carolina this year? Frank Reich gave up play calling duties to whoever, I forget who it was. And it was like the next week or 2 games maybe at the most. He took him back. And it's like, oh, for God's sake.
If you hire the guy, you're saying, I trust this guy.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
You can't, it's like hiring somebody in a company and then not letting them do the job because you don't trust them. Well, then why did you?
That never works.
Yes. Then why did you hire them and pay them? So by hiring them, you're saying you trust them to do the job. I'm very interested. The guy, Robinson, is somebody on my list. Tim Kelly is somebody that I'd be interested in. But yeah, I'm curious. I know I'm not interested in Ken Dorsey.
I don't think it's. Why do you want a guy who just got fired because he wasn't doing a good enough job with Josh Allen?
Yes. Right. Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs.
Exactly. No. Hard pass.
He almost got McDermott fired.
Yeah.
So I want no part of that. I'm sure he's a great guy, but and then I also see that we are going to offer Deuce Staley as the running backs coach, but so are the Jets.
I did see that.
So it's kind of like a little. If I'm Deuce Staley, which organization are you picking right now to come work for?
I mean, as far as an organization, I'd much rather work for the Browns. But if you're looking at just your specific unit, we all love Nick Chubb. But we don't know what he's going to be like when he comes back. We don't know how this recovery is going to go.
Yeah, but you have to know, like, Stefanski is more than likely going to be signing an extension, you would think. It's sometime in this offseason.
I would think so.
There's a solid chance in New York. If you go to New York and you take that running backs coach job, you're going to be looking for another job next year because that whole staff's getting.
There's a solid
fired.
chance, you're saying? Is that what you said? Was that a pun there? Was that a Sala? You said that was a solid chance?
No, I'm just.
Or you just nasally?
I'm just very congested.
I thought that was a good pun on words you said there.
I didn't even hear it. Nice one.
Yeah.
I
thought you were being cute.
I was trying to get through this episode without blowing my nose, so I didn't bring any tissues. But
you should have rolled with that one.
It's
though.
getting
That was
very tough.
He served it up for you.
I teed you up for it, bro, but it's okay.
Yeah. So I think if you go to New York, there's a chance you're going to be looking for a job again next year.
I agree. For both parts of it, I mean, there's great talents on both sides. I think if you're looking for like stability over the next, let's say 3-4 years, like I would say probably Cleveland. Rodgers is out probably after next year. They're probably going to rebuild, I would guess, unless they get super lucky and land a stud quarterback, because Zach Wilson's out. You know what I mean? They're not going to have a quarterback in a year, I would think. Breece Hall's phenomenal, but I mean, you could say so is Nick Chubb. If Nick Chubb comes back anything close to what he was when he left, I would say Cleveland is that positional spot you would want.
You would think. But yeah, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. I would hate to lose out to the Jets to anything, but I do like Deuce Staley. I think that would be a good hire.
Yeah, I like Deuce Staley for sure. There was I can't find it on my thing here, but there was one other coach. Who was it that was getting? Jim Schwartz is interviewing the outside linebackers coach, and I cannot think of his name. So I'm sorry, everybody, for the Tennessee Titans. Obviously, he worked with him previously, to come in and be our new defensive line coach, which is interesting because we already have a defensive line coach currently under contract. So just another one of those situations where lateral type. This episode is brought to you by Omaha Steaks. Browns fans, February is almost here, and that means it's time to start thinking about that upcoming holiday and making plans to share a meal with someone special. That's right. It's almost Super Bowl Sunday, and for those of us also celebrating Valentine's Day, Omaha Steaks has you covered for it all. For a limited time, listeners of this show can go to omahasteaks.com/dogs, DAWGS, and receive 4 free air-chilled boneless chicken breasts and 4 free rich, juicy boneless pork chops with your order. So now is the perfect time to plan ahead for the big holidays coming in February. Load up for the Super Bowl and for Valentine's Day with Omaha's selection of steaks, including the butcher's cut filet mignons, bacon wrapped filet mignons, the top sirloin steaks. Those are my favorite, but these steaks are all awesome. Throw in some Omaha steak burgers, jumbo franks, seafood, ready-to-eat meals, desserts. Oh my goodness, you have to get the caramel apple tartlets for Valentine's Day. Whatever you do, get those. Just make sure you head to omahasteaks.com/dogs. Get those 8 additional free items added to your order, the 4 boneless chicken breasts and the 4 pork chops. Trust me, this stuff is totally worth it. You will wow everybody at your Super Bowl parties, and you will wow your special somebody on Valentine's Day. Mark my words. Get to omahasteaks.com/dogs right now. Score those 8 free additional items with your order. There's nothing better than buying great food and getting free great food along with it. omahasteaks.com/dogs. Minimum purchase may apply. This episode is sponsored by Factor. Browns fans, get started on your New Year's resolutions with Factor, America's ready-to-eat meal delivery service that takes all the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success here in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, all the prep work, and the cooking fatigue. Instead, you can get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including options like keto, calorie smart, vegan, veggie, and more, plus they have over 55 weekly add-ons, you guys have a ton of nutritious and flavor-filled options to kickstart your resolutions. I've personally tried Factor's meals. They are incredible. I got a whole bunch of different varieties of things just to see what I liked, what I didn't, and I'm not exaggerating one bit. I liked them all. You throw it in the microwave, 2 minutes, and bam, you have a nutritious meal ready to go on the fly. And the nice thing is when things get hectic, Factor is totally flexible. You can change your order up every week with plans from 4 to 18 meals per week. You can even pause or reschedule your deliveries anytime you want. So here we go, guys. Let's stress less over our meal times in the new year. Let's get Factor's no prep, no mess meals, no shopping, no cooking, no cleanup. Head to factormeals.com/thedogs50. That's all one word, thedogs50. Use code thedogs50 to get 50% off your order. That's code thedogs50 at factormeals.com/thedogs50 to get 50% off. Happy New Year, everyone.
I'm not even sure that the turnover, like the staff turnover, is even done yet.
Oh no!
Like if you look at like last year and how we were like, oh God, special teams, we're gonna keep the same guy. We're gonna keep Mike again for another year, and then I see a lot of people in our groups, you know, just in the like media articles and stuff like that, questioning like the wide receiver coach.
Yeah.
And you know, like you think about some outside of, let's say, Amari Cooper, right? There hasn't been a lot of progression from any really buddy.
DPJ was on the way up for a minute,
but but then it was just right back to like non-utilization. Like
it's one of those things. Yeah, I mean, like we were all excited for David Bell when he got drafted.
Elijah Moore,
was
another guy that we were like, holy crap! Like,
I know Anthony Schwartz. I don't know if anybody'd make him look good.
Josh always says Cedric Tillman. You know, he's been kind of disappointed with the development that he's had. I mean,
Are we really disappointed with Cedric Tillman?
I think for what they, one, invested in him, and then two, to move DPJ at the trade deadline because they had faith in Cedric. I don't feel like he stepped into any bit of what DPJ could have offered the second half of the season.
He had more. I mean, he did more than DPJ ever did this year.
This year, but I'm saying like in years, like last year, he almost had 900 yards. I feel like when
what
Joe
DPJ
Flacco
do as a rookie.
Oh, I have no idea. I don't have the stats up.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm
not saying that Cedric Tillman's a bad player.
I'm just saying, what did we expect out of him?
We were talking about Cedric Tillman because I was saying I wanted Puka Nacua. I did a whole video on him.
Yeah.
And we talked about we brought up the Amon-Ra St. Brown thing again. Instead, we took Anthony Schwartz. Like, it's just stuff like that where it's just, I think we could use a little bit better evaluations on our prospects when it comes to certain positions, receiver being one.
You say you wanted Puka Nacua, but I remember you literally fist pumping when we drafted Cedric Tillman.
Yeah, because I was afraid they were going to take somebody like Jalen Hyatt, who I didn't like. I don't know. I mean,
I'm just saying you were very high on Tillman,
which is why I'm disappointed that he didn't.
But he's a third-round rookie. I'm just saying. It seems weird to me. We're sitting over here like he didn't develop.
I'm not saying he's a terrible player.
We don't like Cedric Tillman. I thought Cedric Tillman played really well for being a third-round rookie this year.
I thought he did okay.
I like the potential moving forward. You know what I mean? Like, because there was times where I'm like, hey, I thought he was dominant, but I mean, when you have like Amari Cooper and like guys like that, I feel like you're kind of going to get pushed to the side. But I'm with like the chat and people saying like, I've been kind of disappointed with the progression of wide receivers. Like David Bell had moments to shine, but it was against, Cincinnati in garbage time.
Now I'm definitely disappointed with the development of Bell from what he was in college.
That's all. I think if we're going to look at positional, if there was a coach that was going to get fired, like out of our positional group, I think that would have made sense to me a lot more than, like Stump. Stump I was just disappointed for, I guess, just from a fan base.
Unless, again, like with the positional coaches, if they're planning on letting whoever the new OC they hire
bring his own group,
his own like passing game, wide receiver type coach, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So Cedric Tillman, though, had averaged almost 11 yards a catch. Over 50% of his catches were for first downs. And he didn't start playing meaningful snaps until
I'm just saying 21 catches. I
don't know.
Yeah, but he didn't get on the field.
I totally understand he didn't get on the field. But that could also be a talent thing or whatever, a development thing.
You thought he would play over a healthy DPJ?
Can we talk about something else? Because this is stupid.
I'm just saying. I
set us all up for failure.
We can't just throw players under the bus and talk about players not developing.
I specifically said post DPJ trade. The expectations, it was like.
What did we expect? I had zero expectations for Cedric Tillman post DPJ.
Oh, that's
trade.
fine. I had more. I had higher expectations.
Chat, you tell me. Should we have expected Cedric Tillman all of a sudden halfway through his rookie year to just have 800 yards receiving?
Ooh.
You guys tell me.
I don't remember saying 800, but that's cool. Anyway, so the D-line coach is Ben Bloom, and Ryan Crow is the Tennessee Titan outside linebacker coach that Jim Schwartz interviewed. So just another one to keep your eyes on.
All right.
Okay.
So then I think we wanted to play Joe Flacco's clip, right? So just kind of talking about.
I want to talk about Cedric Tillman some more. No, I'm just kidding.
I'll talk about all this.
I'm literally just joking.
I don't. He's
play
a
the clip.
He's a superstar.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't say he's a superstar. Hang on.
Man, Cleveland was unbelievable.
50% of his catches were for first downs.
You guys are going to have to bear with us for one split second.
You only had 40 targets. You got to get the ball to do something with it.
To be back in Cleveland.
Okay, here we go. Here's the Joe Flacco clip, because everybody online, I shouldn't say everybody, I have seen actual headlines from, news outlets or whatever posting, basically implying that Joe Flacco straight up said, I want to come back to Cleveland. That is not exactly what he said. So this is what he said.
Man, Cleveland was unbelievable. I'm definitely open to be back in Cleveland. at the same point, like I don't want to rush to any decisions either. I mean, you don't. I didn't know what the market for QBs was going to look like last spring, and I don't know what it's going to look like this spring. So I don't know if I'm going to have options or if I'm going to have zero options. You know, I love Cleveland though. I love the building, the people, everything about it. I think, you know, it's funny when you go from, you know, when you get to see a few different organizations and then you go to Cleveland, and, you know, I don't think people really, you don't think you ever hear too many like, oh man, Cleveland's an awesome organization and they've done this well and done that well. But I can't say enough good things about how that organization is being run right now, and the atmosphere in the building and the way that guys feel like their future's headed. So I think it would be a very special place to be if I have the opportunity to go back there.
So what he said at the end there was, I mean, that's stuff that you don't hear anybody say about Cleveland, at least in our lifetime.
No.
You know what I mean? Just absolute heaping praise on the organization and all that stuff that's cool to hear.
This guy played for one of the most well-respected, well-run franchises in football.
Yep.
So if he comes to your team and leaves and says, I'm so impressed with the way they're running things now, I think you have to take that serious. I didn't hear him heaping praise on the Jets.
No, I don't
Denver.
think so.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing Joe Flacco videos out here talking about how well run the Jets are after he left New York. So I do think people got, like he said, he'd be open to coming back.
Yep.
Well, that's you're not gonna. I'm not really interested. The place is great, but
what I thought was,
going back.
Don't call me though.
Yeah.
He went down the options route when he was talking. He said, I didn't know what my options were going to be last spring, and I don't know what my options are going to be this spring. You know, the quarterback market. And then he stopped, he paused, he thought about it for a second, and then he went back to praising Cleveland. So I feel like he almost went down I want to see what my options are. I feel like he wants a starting job. That's what I'm getting from him.
I agree. And honestly, I've thought it for a little bit, like with how I'd love to have him back, right? I'd love to have him back. We're going to have to we're going to have to toughen up Cleveland fan base. We'll have to toughen up if we do that.
Yeah.
Okay. But in a backup role. But I think that he played well enough the last, 6 weeks that he could go and be a starting quarterback on a team that's drafting maybe, let's say like a clipboard quarterback rookie, like maybe like a Jordan Love or something like that. And he could sit behind Flacco for a year. Not in Cleveland. He's not our starting quarterback. That's all I'll say about it.
I'm going to say there's a 0.0000% chance he's in Cleveland next year.
Okay.
I think it's low. I think it's definitely low.
It's zero. We just drafted DTR.
Yeah.
They brought Joe in because it was clear that DTR was in over his head as a 5th-round rookie this year, and the team had been stacking wins, and like the season was still alive. But you just drafted DTR. You're going to let him be the backup, especially now he's got some games under his belt. He's going to have a whole nother offseason under his belt. He's going to be the backup. Two, like you said, we are not mentally tough enough as a fan base to have Joe Flacco on the bench as the backup quarterback. It's not going to happen.
And another thing,
we can barely have any other quarterbacks on the roster.
I can't even go to work, and we've been eliminated for a week, and I still haven't been able to not argue with people about it.
So after the preseason, if you guys remember, going into the regular season, that bye week, it was roster cut down at final 53. And it was, well, how many quarterbacks are the Browns going to keep? They only kept 2. You can't, they're probably going to keep 2 this year because remember, at that point in time in the season, you have all these guys that came out of camp and the preseason, we had undrafted rookies we didn't want to lose. There were certain guys we didn't want to put on the practice squad. If you bring Joe Flacco in, who's going to the practice squad? DTR? Somebody pick him up, right?
I don't think so.
I don't know. I just know that whole roster construction thing is interesting, and I don't think it lends itself to that.
I'll say this though: if I go look at the teams in the NFL, and Joe Flacco, and good for him. I mean, if I was him, I'd want a starting quarterback also. Yeah. But to me, a huge part of the success he had this year is in part. I mean, was a lot of Kevin Stefanski. Like I think Kevin got the most out of him, just like he got a lot out of Baker and he got a lot out of Jacoby. If I'm looking at these NFL teams, where does he start? He's not starting for the Bills. He's not starting for the Dolphins. New England,
I mean, he could go to New England.
New England's going to draft like a Drake May or somebody.
But like Justin said, if they end up, if one of these teams ends up getting a quarterback that's like, we like this kid, but he was a little bit of a reach, he's a little raw, then it makes sense to Jordan love him.
So maybe like a New England. He's not going to go back to New York because they got Rodgers. He's not going to Dallas. He's not going to the Giants. He's not going to Philly. And I don't think he's not going to go to Washington. They're going to roll with Sam Howell, or is Jacoby still on the roster? I don't know how long his deal was for.
I think they have like the number 2 overall pick, so they could be a Drake May team.
Yeah. Baltimore, no. Cincy, no. Because they got, what's his face for another year. Yep. He's not going to Pittsburgh. They got enough Joe Flacco type quarterbacks on their team. Chicago, they're going to be either keeping Justin Fields or they're going to be drafting somebody number 1 to take his spot, and he's going to be starting day 1.
I agree. Yep.
Not Detroit. They got Hendon Hooker behind Jared Goff that they just drafted, and whoever else. I don't know who. I mean, I'm not seeing. There's maybe one team here.
Titans, maybe like a team like.
But then you're admitting that you
missed on Levis,
and I'm not even sure that maybe they. Yeah, and twice, right? Malik Willis and.
He's not going to Carolina. He's not going to the Saints. He's not going to the Bucks. I mean, there's Denver. I don't know who their quarterback's going to be.
Either do
Jared Stidham. That's who it is right now, right?
He's already been in Denver. I don't know. I mean,
I'm not.
It's a fair point.
If he's holding out to be a starter,
but you never know. You see teams every year do things in the offseason, and it's like, really, okay. And it's kind of like when the Falcons said we're rolling the Marcus Mariota as our starter. It's like. You are, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever. Marcus Mariota was like youthful,
but not useful. He was. But anyway, yeah, I see what you're saying though. I don't know if I would give it a 0.0% chance that he's back in class. I'd give it a 0.0% chance he's the starter, but I think it's a low chance he's back. I don't know if they go down that route.
I don't think AB knows.
He's a smart guy.
You can't put him on this team. There's just no way. Because if he's holding out to be a starter, there's a chance he'll be free if we need him. I mean, so yeah. Well, that's a good clip, kind of talking about Joe's future and just the overall culture of Cleveland, how it's AB and Kevin and they've kind of transformed this, and it's a credit to Haslam in terms of how he's kind of the only thing he's really putting out there is his checkbook. You know what I mean? He doesn't seem to be mingling. Some people, you got your conspiracy theorists out there who think we fired AVP because Jimmy Haslam told him. But I get the sense that he's way more out of football operations than he used to be. At least that's the feeling I get.
I agree. Yep.
So, good for us. Finally kind of building a culture. But now the fun part of the episode. Well, this was a reasonable expectation for next year from Nicole, her super chat.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So I wanted to squeeze it in here while we were talking about the culture. I think it should. Now the schedule's brutal, but that'll obviously change. Like teams we thought would be easy wins this year were tough, and teams that we thought were going to be tough were easy. But I think you got to win the divisional round at least. You got to make an AFC Championship game.
I think that's what she said. What AFC Championship game? I feel like that's very, very fair. I think just for the talent that's on the team, and we did that this year with everybody hurt. So if you get production from Watson and Nick Chubb, and there's a little bit of like multi-dimension to this offense where it's not just, we have to throw it every play or we're going to run it for 1 yard. I think if you get anything close to that Houston Watson, I think that this offense could be very, very scary. And then if the defense is mostly similar to what it is at home, I don't think that that's that crazy. I think it'd be disappointing if we didn't make the playoffs or didn't win a playoff game. I think that's very fair. I don't think that's an overreach for her saying that.
I think you got to make the AFC Championship game because what did we say? We said we're a quarterback away from being Super Bowl contenders. So we went and got the quarterback. And if he's supposed to be the difference between, not being a Super Bowl contender, being a Super Bowl, you can't contend for the Super Bowl if you don't even make the AFC Championship game. So to me, it's AFC Championship game or bust. Yeah, I was going to bring this up. Our screen we lost our feed.
Yeah, it says that let's see, if I just refresh it says it's low video data. I don't know. The internet must be struggling right now. Can you guys still hear us? That would be the biggest thing, because as long as you can hear us, then
it's weird that it would say, because I can still see our graphics.
Oh no, Skynet.
Our graphics are still there.
So they can still hear us.
I saw a red light on our camera beeping. Did it die?
Yep.
Maybe. Go ahead and keep talking.
Okay.
Well, the T-1000s are coming.
Yeah.
I'm not giving them.
If I go poke my head out the studio door, am I going to see like rockets flying across the sky?
Oh my God.
Skynet. So
what were we talking about? Oh, expectations.
Expectations. I think it's got to be AFC Championship game. I think, and we can kind of talk about Watson here for a second. I've obviously been a staunch supporter of Deshaun Watson and making the move. And I think even if he ends up not being what we thought he would be, I still 100% support the move, because you have to try. You have to be aggressive. Like, the aggressive teams are the teams that perform and win. You can't just sit back on your hands.
We said it for so long. We begged them. We literally begged them to make that move as a fan base. We pleaded, please go get a franchise guy.
Yes.
Go get a guy. We don't want 2 or 3 different quarterbacks. It was the joke of the NFL for my entire life. You knew that there was going to be 2 or 3 quarterbacks every year, and it would be a rotation. And then on top of that, also the head coach. If, he could survive his first year, well, he'd probably be gone the next year. So I'm completely with you. When they made that move, I was so excited, because I was like, holy crap. Not only did we go and get a franchise guy, but it was a guy that I thought was a stud in Watson. Now, like we've also said, it hasn't been exactly what we thought it was going to be.
This episode is brought to you by Danger Coffee. So, Browns fans, did you guys all know that 45% of the world's coffee beans contain mold toxins? Because I didn't. And apparently, coffee beans can contain dangerous mold toxins from the way they're grown or stored. Now, don't freak out. Most of that coffee, I guess, contains low enough levels of toxins that you probably don't need to be overly concerned. Why even take the risk? Danger Coffee is third-party lab tested to ensure every coffee bean is free from mold toxins. So you can start your day off right, knowing your fresh morning brew is not only delicious, but it's also safe to drink. I start every morning now with my Browns thermos filled with nice, hot Danger Coffee, and this stuff tastes amazing. I don't have to worry about any of that mold toxin crap, and I get to enjoy a delicious cup of coffee. Head to dangercoffee.com and use our code DAWGS, DAWGS, for 10% off your order. And that code can be used over and over. So you get 10% off every order with code DAWGS at dangercoffee.com.
Even though I would still 100% make the move 10 times out of 10, I can still say whether we win or lose the trade.
Right.
And if Deshaun doesn't play at a Pro Bowl level next year and we don't make an AFC Championship game, we lost.
Right.
We lost the trade.
And there's 3 years left on that thing, right? On that contract.
After next year, there's only 2.
Right. Well, I mean,
yes.
3 years total.
So to me, the grade is still but if he doesn't play well again next year, it's a bad look.
Yep. Whoops.
I think he played well this year, just wasn't much. That's the thing that sucked.
He didn't play
the availability.
He did not play well enough.
Yeah.
He did not play well enough. He played okay.
There was moments. There was moments for me, like that second half of that Baltimore game. I was like, man, if we could get this, that's why I was so excited heading into the rest of the year, because I was like, holy crap, this team's going to be dangerous.
Yes,
because now we've beaten the 2 best teams, and this guy
really
came
the
alive.
only games were the first 2, because Tennessee, he was pretty much perfect. Arizona was just Arizona. Who really cares?
Right.
Didn't need to do much. Baltimore was rough going for a half, and then he came out and just went nuts.
He was as bad in the
Bengals
first half
game
as he
was
in
like
the second half.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like as long as we need the offensive improvements, I'm excited to see what the coaching staff brings us this year and all that kind of stuff. He just needs to stay on the field. That's the thing. It's so hard for me to say what's a lost season next year or what's a successful one? It's like, well, this year we talked about what was successful, and then week 2 it's like we don't have Nick Chubb anymore. I have no idea what success is now. And
I'll say this: if he gets hurt again next year,
and that's when the narrative, then the injury stuff is like, okay, now
I don't care. He's got to play, and he's got to play well. That's just the bottom line. It's if he doesn't play for whatever reason, we lost the trade. If he's hurt, we lost the trade. If he plays like shit, we lost the trade. If he doesn't play at a Pro Bowl level and we don't go to the AFC Championship game, we lost the trade.
But then if he comes out year 4 and we go win the Super Bowl, we won the trade. That's why you always say you got to wait till it's over. You got to wait till this contract is up and the deal is done. Because people are saying, "Oh, it's the worst trade." I'm like, first of all,
that would be 50% of the deal. We traded 3 first rounds, and again, I trade my soul for a Super Bowl. So I get
it's very hard to get just one Super Bowl. Is the thing, though.
Yeah, but and again, I've been a huge Deshaun supporter so far and defender, but you cannot say he's played to anywhere close to what he should be playing.
No, absolutely not.
There's no, and if he continue, and it's got to be consistent. He can't be great for a half and dog crap for a half.
Can't be rusty.
He can't be rusty.
No.
He can't. I mean, there are times where he just literally throws the ball into the ground. I've never seen an NFL quarterback look like he forgot how to throw the football randomly in the middle of a football game. And we can't have that. He has to play at an extremely high level for 17 games next year. Or it's a bad trade, very bad trade. Like I'm done waiting. Just like I was done waiting on Baker. This is it. It's make or break time. It's either go be good or 6 weeks into next year, I'll be talking about how bad he is.
It's just funny because you were the one that always said you got to wait and see what happens over the course of the contract. Because
yes, I get that. This was year 2. But again, he just missed basically another whole season.
Yeah, and I'm saying that sucks. He has to be on the field. He has to play a full season.
If he doesn't play at all again this year, he plays like crap, and then we win the Super Bowl in year 4. Okay, I'll say it's good. But if he plays like crap again, what makes you think we're going to win the Super Bowl in his 4th year?
Nothing makes me think we're ever going to win a Super Bowl based on past history. It's just we got to do what we got to do. We got to try, and that's what the team constantly does is make these changes, make these improvements. That's why they got Deshaun in the first place.
Again, I would make the move. Even if at the end of year 5 we sucked, I still support making the move. But you can still grade the trade. You can still grade it.
When it's done.
Yes, but I get what you're saying.
Because I
wasn't willing to say he's been awful, 8 games into it. 3 years into it, you can start making some talks. And especially if it's not injury, if he just comes out and plays 17 games next year and he doesn't play at a high level, there's no reason to think magically in the 4th year, even further removed from playing well, that he's going to magically all of a sudden be good again.
Absolutely.
There's just no reason to think that.
But so we'll talk about that if that happens next year. Because I don't know. What I saw on the field this year, I was like, man, if he could have played the whole season, I think we were going that direction. We were turning the corner with him, and I think things were going to start to look really, really nice. We'll never know. It didn't happen. Now we got to wait till September to see it back on the field.
So real quick, because we're already 2 minutes over here, we're going to dive in to these Mad Dawg nominations. So if you're new to the show, every year we started this, our first year doing it, we do the Mad Dawg Awards, and these are voted on by you, and then we do the awards presentation, week of the Super Bowl or in between the Super Bowl and the AFC I can't remember.
I think we'll probably leave voting open for, I guess we didn't even talk about it. What do you think, 2 weeks?
Yeah, I would say we do the show in between, between AFC, the championship games and the Super Bowl.
The off week.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you'll have a couple weeks to get these votes in. You'll head to thedogspodcast.com/vote. And that is where you will find the nominees and some of their stats. So I got them pulled up right here. Your categories this year is the Young Pup Award, which is Rookie of the Year. The ever disappointing Cedric Tillman, 224 yards on 21 of 44 and 0 touchdowns.
What's wrong with you?
Right tackle DeJuan Jones. He gave up 21 pressures, 3 sacks, and 2. What is the pen?
Penalties.
Penalties. Okay. I was like, he had 2 penises.
No.
I mean, he's a big guy.
He is. Maybe he had a front and a back one. I don't know. Cornerback Cam Mitchell, 18 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 1 sack, 2 passes defensed. And safety Ronnie Hickman, 25 tackles, 3 pass defense, 1 interception, and 1 touchdown. So that is your Young Pup Rookie of the Year award nominees. Your Airbud Golden Receiver, which is your best pass catcher of the year, which is the key here. It's not just wide receiver. It is anybody who catches passes for a living on the Browns. Amari Cooper, 1,309 yards and 5 touchdowns. David Njoku, 975 yards and 6 touchdowns. And Jerome Ford, 319 yards and 5 touchdowns. Your best lineman comes down to Ethan Posick, Joel Bitonio, Wyatt Teller, and DeJuan Jones. We didn't even give you the option to vote for Jedrick Wills because we know better.
He got hurt.
The Homeward Bound Award is the Comeback Player of the Year award. QB Joe Flacco, 1,900 yards, 14 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and just one hell of a nice guy. Running back Kareem Hunt, 437 yards. Here's the thing, 10 rushing touchdowns and a receiving touchdown. 11 touchdowns out of Kareem Hunt this year is pretty awesome.
Yes.
JOK, 101 tackles, 3.5 sacks, 20 tackles for loss, 1 forced fumble, 6 passes defensed, and 2 interceptions. I think he led the league in tackles for loss or something like that, or was near the top of the league.
I'll have to look that up maybe.
He was very, very good. Grant Delpit, 80 tackles, 1.5 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, fumble recovery, 3 passes defensed, and an interception. And then we even throw Kevin Stefanski in here, coming off back-to-back losing seasons this year, 11-6 record, clinched the number 5 seed in the playoffs a week early, and he did it with 5 different quarterbacks this year. So those are your Comeback Player of the Award nominees. Your unsung hero / fan favorite, safety D'Anthony Bell, 28 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 2 interceptions, 4 passes defensed, and 1 forced fumble. He played great when he got in there late in the year due to injuries. Obviously, he's a favorite of the show. Punter Corey Bojo, he had a long punt of 73 yards, 31 punts that were down inside the 20. He was a weapon this year.
He really was.
Like he was very good this year. I think I actually voted for him. Either that or I voted for D-Bell just because it's also fan favorite. Mm-hmm. Left tackle Jaron Christian started 9 games at left tackle off the 49ers practice squad, only gave up 4 sacks. And then defensive tackle Jordan Elliott, 21 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 3 QB hits. I think Jordan Elliott's a good addition to this because we heard a lot about Miles and Ogbo. And
we were done with him.
We were done with him, and he flew under the radar, but played really well this year.
He played every game.
Yep. So
Jim Schwartz got a lot out of him.
Yep. This is my favorite category that we do is the Unsung Hero Award. The Every Dog Has His Day, which is Performance of the Year. Amari Cooper setting the receiving record, 265 yards and 2 touchdowns on 11 catches against Houston. David Njoku, 6 catches, 135 yards. That was against New York. Deshaun Watson, week 3 versus Tennessee, 81.8% completion percentage, 289 yards and 2 touchdowns. Deshaun Watson, week 10 at Baltimore, his second half, 14 of 14, 134 yards, a touchdown, and a 16-yard rush on the game-winning drive for a first down. Myles Garrett, week 7 at Indy, 9 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 1 recovered for a TD, 1 pass defense, 1 block. He pretty much single-handedly
He was a monster
took over
that
the Colts
game.
Yeah. It was unbelievable. And then Joe Flacco against the Jets, 16 of 22, 296 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick in the first half. So that's your Performance of the Year. Your Play of the Year, which is your dog trick. Greg Newsom's pick 6 against Lamar Jackson and the Ravens in week 10. Joe Flacco to Jerome Ford, the pocket escape play against the Jets. Myles Garrett strip sack on Gardner Minshew in the end zone against the Colts. Myles Garrett jumps over the offensive line to block the field goal against the Colts. You're sensing a trend that game. Myles Garrett should have had a safety against Kenny Pickett to open the game against the Steelers. Joe Flacco somehow threads 3 Bears defenders to hit Amari Cooper for a 51-yard TD, and Maurice Hurst tips Geno Smith past himself for an athletic big man pick. I think I voted.
I went back and watched that play. I forgot how awesome it was. He was back in coverage, tipped it to himself, and dove to make the catch.
Did you guys vote yet? Did you guys do?
I did vote.
Who'd you vote for this?
For that play, for the top play of the year?
Yeah.
I went with Myles Garrett jumps over the offensive line, block field goal.
I went with Greg Newsom, man. I went with Greg Newsome.
I mean, that was a great play.
We never beat Baltimore in Baltimore. First career pick, takes it for a touchdown.
Awesome.
That was a turning point in the season, I felt like. So that's what I went with.
Yep.
Offensive top dog, Joe Flacco, 1,900 yards, 14 TDs, 10 interceptions. Amari Cooper, 1,309 yards, 5 touchdowns. David Njoku, 975 yards and 6 touchdowns. And Jerome Ford, 830 yards, 4 touchdowns. He had 334 yards receiving and 5 touchdowns, over 1,100 all-purpose yards. I think I voted for Amari Cooper for that because I think I gave pass catcher of the year to David Njoku. Defensive top dog, Myles Garrett. We've been through some of his stats: 14 sacks, 17 tackles for loss, 30 QB hits. Pretty much just did everything. JOK, 101 tackles. I already gave his stats. Martin Emerson, 59 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 14 passes defense, 4 interceptions, and a couple bullshit penalties. So,
yeah.
And then Grant Delpit, 80 tackles, 1.5 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, 1 fumble recovery, 3 pass defense, and an INT. And then your best in show nominations, which is your MVP, Myles Garrett, JOK, Joel Bitonio, Dustin Hopkins, Amari Cooper, David Njoku, Martin Emerson, Joe Flacco, or Kevin Stefanski. Who'd you guys vote for MVP?
I'm not even kidding. Dustin Hopkins.
Same.
Yeah.
I voted for Kevin.
For Kevin?
Because he's the one that held it all together.
Yep. So I think there's some.
I thought you guys would question me on that, but I thought that.
Dude, Dustin Hopkins was.
I thought who single-handedly was the reason we
won so many games. Yeah.
And without him, if we still had Cade York, we don't make the playoffs.
No. It'd been like, I don't know, the last 3 years. Just a lot of, Chargers game. Missed a field goal at the end. We lost the game. Just a little bit of that. Baltimore,
So I think there's some interesting categories there, by the way. Or some like interesting nominations in the categories.
Interesting.
I think it'll be fun to see what the people vote for, what the dog pack says, and who they select.
Yes. So, again, thedogspodcast.com/vote. If you find yourself at justthedogspodcast.com, I'm pretty sure you can find it from there also.
Yes, you can.
if you take a wrong turn and you end up on not the correct website, you can get there. Again, you got a couple weeks to go to vote. Go spread the word, please. The more votes, the more fun. It sucks if you read it and say, with 3 votes, David Njoku was the MVP.
I'm giving percentages if it's like that.
So help us out here. Go vote. And we'll have a lot of fun in a couple weeks. We'll wrap this thing up. We appreciate you guys being here, watching us, taking time out of your Sunday, even though there's playoff football on right now. We appreciate you guys being here, hanging out with us, even though the Browns aren't in it. So, hopefully the Lions pull it out. I don't know what the score is.
Yeah, what is going on with that game, Justin?
It's 24-17. Lions just scored on a Jahmyr Gibbs 31-yard touchdown.
What is it, fourth quarter?
Yes, 11 minutes to go.
Okay.
Lions have the ball, it says.
Yeah, let's just look real quick at, is Blake going to win money today or not? Baker Mayfield's already got his 250 plus.
Maybe he's got 265.
Jared Goff needs 30 yards to get to his 250, 26 yards. Mike Evans already got his 60. I need 30 more yards out of St. Brown, and I need a Montgomery touchdown.
Oh, you got 11 minutes left to get it.
I almost took Jahmyr Gibbs. I should have taken the Gibbs on the anytime TD, but I was like, they always get down to like 2 and give it to Montgomery.
I agree.
He vultures the touchdowns. But yep. So if I win some money, I'll be happy next episode. If I don't, I'll be really grumpy. I'll just keep bringing up Sipper.
I knew it. I fucking knew it.
Superstar said.
Yep. All right. So again, we appreciate you guys being here, and we'll see you guys sometime next week.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at the Dogs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedogspodcast.com.